Welcome back. So, in the last month, the only topic in Nigeria, the only conversation in Nigeria was this tax reform policy. Well, with us in the studio, the chairman, Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms, Mr. Taiwo Oyedele, has said that illicit funds in Nigeria, such as money laundering or proceeds of crime, will also be taxed under the controversial tax reform bills. Joining us right now to speak is the man himself to share with us his thoughts and explain further to Nigerians on this tax reform is Mr. Taiwo Oyedele. Welcome to the show. Good to have you.
Thank you.
It's so good. Happy New Year to you, sir.
Happy New Year to you and Happy New Year to Nigeria.
So before you became the big boy in the presidential cabinet, you used to come to our show almost all the time, and we used to have access to like this.
And
We'll
that's
call you
why
like
I'm
this.
here today. That's
Now,
why I'm here today.
now, to call you is wahala. We
They
call
give
you,
me too much work to do. That's why.
But listen, as I said, the tax reform bill has been the conversation in every Nigerian's lips. There's been wide consultations. We've seen you everywhere talking to the National Assembly, to state governors, to various stakeholders. You've done quite a bit. So, but some people say till today they don't know what they are done. They don't still understand. I mean, I read in the papers today. NLC is still saying they are telling the federal government to withdraw because they still need wide conversation. I think it's myself, how wide do you want this conversation? So, for those who still have no idea what this tax reform bill, just give us in a nutshell the 5 steps or the 5 various points of this the tax reform bill that you're proposing.
Yeah, thank you very much, and Happy New Year once again. And your studio is beautiful, so it's a pleasure to be here. I think let me start with good news for the new year.
Okay.
So some of the things we have been working on for over 1 year, it's not just those tax bills.
Okay.
Even though that's what almost everybody thinks that we are doing solely. And last year in July, we got an approval for a new withholding tax regulation, and it was gazetted in October, and it takes effect today.
Ooh! You heard it first on your view?
Yes.
Yes? Fantastic.
So that new regulation would exempt small businesses from withholding tax.
Oh my
It
God.
will exempt manufacturers.
Really?
It would also ensure that for a lot of even large businesses, the withholding tax that they have to pay, the rate is reduced significantly.
Let us speak that in Nigerian English.
Yes.
Amaka is a small business owner. Nima is a rice seller.
Yeah.
Those small, how do you define a small business? Is it people like Nima or people like, I mean, like Yasikira, the
Yeah,
body shop?
so the Yasikiras, if your annual turnover is 25 million or less, which in the bills we're going to increase to 50, but as of today, 25 million naira or less, you will not have to charge withholding tax when you receive any invoice, and when you are being paid, nobody will deduct withholding tax on you as well. So that allows you to conserve your money to do more business and grow. Manufacturers, no withholding tax as well. And even for large businesses, like I said, some of them have very little profit margin. So we have a sector where they were being asked to pay withholding tax of 10% on their turnover. And their profit margin is not even up to 10%. So we reduced that to 2% from 10.
Wow.
That's good.
Yes. So, and even when people pay withholding tax, it's not supposed to be an additional tax, but they don't get the credit note on time. It's too complicated.
Exactly.
We've created that new framework for you to write your own receipt and be able to use it. So this is a huge relief for businesses, and I think it's a good note to start for 2025.
Fantastic. That's great news. Great news.
You know what saddens me is that we clap like this, and then there's still opposition to, you know, the entire
The reform. Yeah.
And I wanted to even pick on your mindset. How do you feel, you know, doing something that you think has solved a lot of problems? Because I consider it realistic. There are small businesses who hate it when the tax people come to them. I'm struggling. I never pay NEPA bill. I saw a young man on 2 days ago. I was buying from. I was like, when you open this your shop, it was full. See, your shop is empty. You're a Nigerian youth. You don't lazy. The boy said, no, auntie. The person that helped me gave me loan. I'm paying him back. I paid 800 of the money. I've not even paid the rest. I was like, I was shocked to find out. So there are certain businesses. It's just realistic to know that businesses in this category who should not be burdened. You know, but we now hear people who have read all these laudable things and think cancel it. They have not consulted us. They have not carried us. So how do you feel seeing, people react like this?
To be honest, I don't take it personal.
Okay.
If you have a country of more than 200 million people, it would be unrealistic to expect everybody will think in one direction. You also have to be mindful that human beings are naturally selfish, so they think about their interests first. So you're saying don't collect taxes from small businesses, right? So you expect small businesses to be happy, but the person that is collecting the taxes, you think they'll be happy? They will not be happy. We're saying low-income earners should not pay tax, middle-income earners should pay lower taxes, but the rich people should pay a little bit more. You think the rich people will be happy? They will not be happy.
That's true.
So, and sometimes the reason why some stakeholders are not happy are not things they can say in the public. So they'll look for a proxy issue to continue to fight. Otherwise, you would imagine, why is it that if all the issue you have is the way we share VAT revenue, why are you asking us to withdraw the bills? There are actually 4 bills, and all that they're disagreeing with is in just one bill. In that one bill, you have more than 100 provisions. You disagree with one. Why don't you ask us to amend it, which we can do in 2 minutes? Why is the solution to go and withdraw it? And I'll be honest with you, there are some sub-nationals that are not happy that we're exempting low-income earners. They said that's everybody that is paying IGR in their states. They won't come on TV and tell you we are fighting them because they're exempting low-income earners. So our approach is just to be engaging with everybody, try and explain it to them, be constructive. We're not fighting. It's for the interest of our country. Like NLC, for example, you would imagine ordinarily, if we have a tax bill that is exempting 90% of all workers,
You will not say you don't.
1.7 million naira per month or less, you pay lower tax. I don't know anyone in NLC that is any more than that. If there are people any more than that, they'll be less than 1%. Should it not be NLC going on the field to say, let's pass it like yesterday, right?
That's why you say that there's a proxy issue. So
there's a proxy issue. Sometimes people are not telling you what they are fighting. So some of the issues potentially that can be from NLCs, we're saying some agencies should stop collecting taxes. Those agencies will use their members to fight the bills, right? And the best way to fight it is to say withdraw it, because you don't want to tell people what they are fighting. Exactly. But overall, we think that the vast majority of Nigerians are with us. The key stakeholders, even many of them that are not speaking up, they speak to us privately to say you are doing the right thing. We'll find a way to arrange ourselves properly.
Yes. So
yes.
In line with what you just said, right? For somebody to use somebody to fight, that means the person does not even understand the benefits of what is going on to them. Like you said, majority, like some states, most of the people they have in the states are employees, either private sector or the public sector. So can you break down the personal income bracket and rate so that the average Nigerian can understand? So if someone is saying, go and fight this, they say, no, I cannot fight something that is beneficial to me, because they don't understand it. So can you break it down so they understand, even those people in the public sector that is even so that people don't use them to fight?
Great point. What we have also seen is a lot of conspiracy theories, misinformation, manipulation. For example, there was a message that went viral in the north where someone said that Tinubu is going to take 1 mudu of every 4 mudu that you produce. So you say that to farmers, of course they're not going to be reading tax laws, right? For them, they're going to fight it. 1 mudu out of 4. Meanwhile, farmers will not pay taxes.
At all.
So if I want to simplify it, if you earn income of 83,000 naira per month or less, you'll be exempted completely from PAYE and personal income tax. You will not pay any tax. If you earn 1.7 million naira a month, to that 83, you see your tax rate would reduce. Of course, it's not the same reduction for everyone. The more you move up, the lower the reduction you get, because we wanted to take care of the low-income earners more. And then beyond that point, you also see your taxes will be increasing slightly, and it gets to about 25% tax if you're an ultra-high net worth individual, like any 20, 30 million naira a month. which by any standard anywhere in the world, even in the US, you'll be top 1%. And by the way, that 25% we're asking them to pay is still one of the lowest in the world. In South Africa, Kenya, UK, you'll be closing to 40, 45% on those kind of income. And by the way, those people who earn those amounts of money are usually business owners. And for their businesses, we're reducing the company's income tax rate from 30% to 25% over the next 2 years. So even for them, there's still a lot of benefit as well that they will gain from it. Yes.
Okay.
For young Nigerians, for young Nigerians, we've identified some impediments in the tax laws why they are not able to get jobs within the remote digital economy. We think we can create over 1 million jobs for Nigerian youths. Imagine any 1,005, 2,005, dollars per month for 1 million Nigerians. That's huge.
That is good.
Yes, it's good. So for us, we get excited every day because of those possibilities. And we know when we can just get over this, our back and forth, every Nigerian will see the positivity.
Because of time, let me get some more questions.
So with these reforms, one thing, every time we talk about tax, three things always come up. Compliance. We've always complained that majority of Nigerians do not even pay tax in the first place, and now we're talking of reduction in the how much they have to pay. So how does this also affect revenue generation if we're reducing because many times we've heard government say, well, the only way we need to raise funds is to tax Nigeria, and then you're now saying it's much reduced. And then also, how does this benefit us concerning prices of goods and services and inflation? How does all this reform reflect in these three things I've just mentioned?
Brilliant question. Let me start with the last one. So VAT, for example, we identify where is it that Nigerians spend their money. And of course, because of poverty in the land, more than 50% of household income is spent on food. Then you spend money on education, on healthcare, transportation, and utility. Combined, those account for about 82% of where we spend our money. If you go down lower the ladder, you spend nearly 100% just trying to feed and cover basic things. So what we've done in those bills is to remove the VAT on those consumption so that life can be easier for those people.
Okay.
Of course, like you said, that means that government revenue will go down. So we then decided that on non-essential consumptions, where the rich people tend to spend a lot of money, we should adjust the VAT rate upwards.
Okay.
While doing that, we also ensure that for businesses, they can get credit for any VAT that they pay, whether they pay on assets, on services, on raw materials. So businesses will not carry VAT costs anymore. So there's nothing to pass on to people, right? So our analysis shows that the cost for businesses will come down. Prices of more than 80% of goods and services will come down, and the few that will go up will be borne by middle class, upper class, and rich people. So to the first part of your question, which is really, you are reducing taxes, but you want to raise more revenue. How do you balance that equation? Excellent question. So today, I'll say to you that the Nigerian tax net has the wrong people in it. Because we've put low-income and vulnerable people, small businesses inside the net, and we're beating them up. People cannot give what they don't have.
Thank you.
So we almost have designed the system such that the top 5% can get away with not paying taxes.
Exactly.
Whereas in almost every country around the world, that top 5% pay more taxes than the remaining 95%. That's exactly what we're doing now.
Exactly.
So we're confident that we can reduce taxes for the bottom 95%. And get 5% to pay a bit more, and overall Nigeria will collect more taxes.
You see, I was going to come to that because my worry is that 5 or 10% of Nigerians, they aren't paying taxes. What are you doing to ensure compliance they pay and also prosecute those? Because these are top people. These are people who are well-known, high net worth Nigerians who are well connected. Because the law always has a way of fighting, but the corruption fights back. So we understand that you're going after these guys, but they're going to fight back. How do you plan to ensure that they're able to the system?
So one of the things we have done inside the bills is to create a framework for what we call tax intelligence. So what we do today in Nigeria is you go to whether they are rich or poor, you ask them, tell me how much you earn. People don't want to tell you honestly how much you earn. So what we are doing now is we're going to use third-party data So nobody transacts with themselves. You can earn income and not tell anybody, but you know what you do, you spend. So when you go to the mall, when you travel abroad, you buy a car, you build a house, you buy a mobile phone, you buy a car, you register with investment banks, stockbroking account, all that intelligence is collected. In fact, Nigeria has agreement with over 100 countries around the world. They're also sending us information that you have abroad. If you like, take the money to the US, UK, Dubai, who would know? So when we write to you, we are telling you about yourself. God help you, you don't cooperate. One of the fastest ways to put people in jail is tax evasion. Right, and you will see that Mr. President has demonstrated 100% commitment to this process. That's what we needed. We've not had that before in Nigeria. It will not be perfect, but we'll make significant progress over the next 1 to 2 years. We're going to start off, once we get our bills passed, with what we call a voluntary disclosure program to allow people to come forward voluntarily. And we make it clear to you, if you don't come forward though, whatever happens after that, it's on you. So I think this is the way to move Nigeria forward. These reforms will be transformative, and it will turn Nigeria to that country where we can all be proud of.
So two things worry me when I hear, I saw your, the Senate's briefing that you did, I think, was it the National Assembly briefing? And you had said this, I wondered why this president, why is President Tinubu, who is not presently so loved by his people, taking this risk of these reforms? Because we've always taxed the most vulnerable. We enjoy it. It's the they'll tell you mass production. They are the popular ones. They are the most populated ones. Oh yeah, go there, collect all the money. You know, if you see the network, the benefit for bonus, or the mega recharges are big for those who can afford it. But you see those 100, that's where the money is. Oh yeah, go there, tax them. Even the cable TV, everybody tax them. Everybody's targeting them. Why is he so bold? Wait till they look. You know they fear. You know they fear. You just leave out the
it takes a visionary leader to make these bold decisions that Mr. President is making. So I have been in this system for a long period of time, even though I wasn't in the public sector, but I knew more about public sector than most people in government. I spent over 10 years working with government on reforms and all of that. And I haven't seen any president this committed. This Mr. President did not dictate anything to us other than just setting the tone. I want you to promote businesses, let's create wealth, protect poor people, remove multiple taxation, right? The rest of it is us deciding
how to do that.
How to do it. We do extensive debate, we use data. And he's ready to take all the risks because the blame is first and foremost on him, right? Including taking a political risk. But he knows that what he's trying to do is good for the country. And by the time we start getting the result, not 5 or 10 years, we're talking about the next 1, 2 years.
Immediately.
Nigerians will be the ones promoting this president themselves. Potentially, he will be our best president ever. You know, whether it's first subsidy removal, whether it's Naira flotation, we've gone through a lot of pain. Nigerians made sacrifices. But for the first time in the history of Nigeria, this first sector has been properly deregulated, and the benefits will start coming in 2025. So I'm very optimistic. I'm very excited at what will happen from this 2025 going forward. And people will see that Mr. President made the right decisions. They were tough, they were unpopular, but they were the right decisions.
I said the president's boldness scared me, but the vulnerable Nigerians we are removing from this bucket are informal business people. So most people pay salaries, they don't record it. They don't keep a book. They don't keep, how do we ensure that, this privilege we are giving to them now is well captured? How is there an education that you're going to do to inform Nigerians on how important it is to now keep their business books and records?
Yes, so we have a lot of provisions in those bills to encourage formalization. We call it formalization. And what's happening currently is that if you run a small business, you're likely not to understand your tax obligations. So, but when the tax officers show up, they use that as an advantage over you to extort money from you. So what we've done now has taken that risk away from you, so they can't even come to you. Number 2 is that should anybody come to you for whatever reasons, then we have the Office of the Tax Ombudsman that will defend you at no cost to you. So nobody can just come and harass you anymore. And then what we've also done is to say, if you can just keep whatever record, we have simplified method for keeping records. Some of it is what you do on your phone, your bank account, POS. And then over time, as you keep those records, you get some other advantages in the bills that will enable you formalize. Because once you formalize your ability to scale your business and grow, we don't want it to remain small forever. We actually want it to be very big, so you can also be paying taxes as well. So it's a lot of moving parts that are working together overall for the interest of the country.
So going back to what you said earlier, you know, Nigerians at the end of the day, everybody around the world works to be able to retire. So what happens to statutory deductions such as pensions and national housing fund contributions? What happens to that?
Yes, so we have full deductions for that. So we want Nigerians to continue to do that. Save for your retirement, save for building a house like National Housing Fund, insurance scheme. All those ones are statutory deductions that are recognized in the bills we have before the National Assembly, which means you do that, you get a tax benefit. And if you then retire and you withdraw the money back, it's totally tax-free. So we are mindful of that as well. In fact, one of the things we debated was, how can we make Nigeria an attractive location for people to want to retire in this country? I was reading on my way here, somebody said, if you want to retire in France, be mindful of this. Maybe if they don't like to retire in France, they should bring all their money and come and spend it in Nigeria. We'll take care of them.
Okay. So another thing, you know, Nigerians always talk about when we talk about taxes, how are they even using my money? I cannot see it anywhere. So the utilization of this tax, what is the plan? Where is it geared towards that Nigerians can see?
Yeah, fantastic. So, you know, the work of our committee is not just tax, it's fiscal reform. So it has the component about governance around fiscal issues, revenue transformation, then you have economic growth and competitiveness. So we're looking at revenue reform, including taxes, spending, and borrowing. So under our spending policy, we have a document that we call National Fiscal Policy. So it hasn't been as popular as the tax bills, but it's actually even more fundamental than the tax bills. It sets out how government should spend our money. You must do priority of spending. You cannot just go and build an airport because the governor and their friends are flying when you don't have primary schools and health centers,
Exactly,
right?
to prioritize.
And then we also have a transformation of the budgeting process as part of the reforms, including what we have sent to the National Assembly to amend the Constitution so that nobody will reverse these reforms. And then, so issues where Nigerians say, oh, cost of governance is too high. In our reforms, that's going to be fixed permanently because it prescribes a percentage that you must not exceed for cost of governance. It tells you the minimum amount you must spend on infrastructure and what you must spend on human capital development with a very transparent framework for reporting your revenue, your spending, and audited financial statements. And in fact, we have the same thing even for local governments.
I love that.
Yeah, so we can one hand, we can keep hoping that Nigeria will get better, or we can take practical steps.
Yeah.
You know, that's
I
exactly what we're trying to do.
This sounds like
now.
a framework for
It's a
governance.
framework,
Because people now know what to, because half the time they become
Well,
governors,
yes,
become leaders,
yes.
they have no clue.
Yes, yes.
Oh, let us just do airport, let
Yeah.
us just do zoo, let us just do road.
exactly.
But
Legacy
there should be a framework. So I
Legacy
think
project.
that is so fundamental. Well
Because
done.
Yeah,
Well
because
done.
you hear things like, you are a governor, you do not even do the road to your village.
your village.
Yeah.
Like they're supposed to be doing the road to your village.
Prioritize.
Yeah.
I love that. Absolutely.
Just last question. You know, is there an enforceable force behind this that you have said? Can a governor
Let's hold them
be
accountable.
compelled to do this? And would there be consequence if he doesn't? You know the way our chapter 2 has laudable things, but nobody's compelled. It's not enforceable. So is there such force behind it?
I'll say yes. You know, what we've done is in different ways. We thought that first and foremost, the most potent way you can get politicians to do the right thing is to put it out in the open, right? So if you compel them to put out information, and we're also mobilizing Nigerians, particularly the middle class, to show more interest in governance and be asking questions. It's not the poorest people in the village that will be asking questions.
Yeah.
So they don't even know their rights. You give them small palliative, they are celebrating you, right? And then we have the legal framework, including up to the Constitution as to what you must do, when you must do it. We're even hopeful that some of these things will have consequences where you can lose your position in office if you don't comply with those things. So, and then you then find that you empower the ordinary Nigerian to take someone to court. Of course, even if you have immunity, it won't be forever, right? So we have those provisions in those bills and the broader reforms
Sorry
that we're
to cut you off
doing.
a bit, because you see, this is what I'm thinking. Involve private sector with A. Bring the private because they have experience. Now they've involved you as a private sector. You've worked for PricewaterhouseCoopers for years.
Yes.
Now you bringing in your private sector experience into this, into politicians. Do you think the politicians are ready? Because we've seen a bit of a pushback, right? Now, do you have an idea when you'll be able to pass this bill, given all the consultations you're doing? Number one. Number two, how intense are these politicians against these reforms we're trying to see? Because there will be other reforms in other sectors, and we need to know how to gird up to be able to push back on these politicians. So how has it been working with these politicians, and how they're resisting the private sector initiative? Because as you said, the president did not tell you anything. This is totally private to public concept.
Nigerians.
And
Yes,
Nigerians coming
yes,
saying, look,
yes.
this is what we can do to move forward. So how intense has it been, and how do you think we can move past this?
Yeah, so we have the members of our committee at a point where over 100. So from all the 6 geopolitical zones, private sector, public sector organization, we're working every single day. We had 5 work streams, because the kind of work we did in 1 year, even us, we are surprised that we're able to do that. But to your question, I'll say the majority of politicians are supportive because they also want what is good for their country.
People,
Where you always get into challenges with politicians, or maybe just people generally, is when there's a clash between the interests of the country and their personal interests. Our own philosophy for the work we're doing is that Nigeria first, Nigeria next, Nigeria at all times. That if Nigeria is working, you find your space under a Nigeria that works.
Yes.
If what you're doing is working for you and it's not working for Nigeria, you should not be doing it, right? So those are the things people are coming to terms with. It's not easy. I have to be honest with you.
Yes.
You're making free money and we say stop making
Yes.
it. You're going to
I was
fight.
going to say that.
But we think that on the whole, the majority of politicians, and of course, almost every private sector person
Is as a line.
aligns with us.
Very
Yes.
quickly, not to forget, internal saboteurs. What are you putting in place? Because Nigerians, as Nima said,
So
the
the Nigerian
Nigerians.
factor, that thing.
No, it's not Nigeria factor. Nigerians factor, because Nigeria itself is its whole. But Nigerians, they're saboteurs. How do you? What technique do you have to?
We've seen that
reduce
already. I won't say that because we don't want to create more enemies. So we've seen even people within the committee that are working against the work we're doing. And it's mostly when there's a clash with their interests. For example, the agencies will say, stop collecting taxes. And then someone who is very influential, their son works as a director in that company. So as far as they're concerned, you want to scrap the agency, what will happen to my son? And they are fighting. They won't come out and tell you that's why they are fighting. But we know that's why they're fighting.
You have interest.
You know, exactly.
Oh, Nigerians.
So I think those are to be expected. I think will happen anywhere in the world. But to the extent that you have the majority and the skill to push through in the direction that the country wants to go, we say, ultimately, may Nigeria win.
Amen. I think we're all with that. Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure having you.
It's a pleasure to be here.
We know you've
Thank you for
discussed
having
this
me.
to
Yes.
almost every Nigerian, but you see, when you come and discuss it on your view, it's a whole different thing, because we break it down to Nigerians.
Yes,
Nigerians
in a
understand it
simple
better
form, yes.
once we come to this show. So please, don't be far from us. We'll be happy to have you. Anytime you need
Yes.
to talk to Nigerians for real, come and
This is
see us.
here.
We'll be happy to
I will
have
certainly try my
All
best.
right. That's all we can take on the first show of 2025
in our new studio.
The show has started again, and that's it. We're on the roll. See you tomorrow. Bye for now.